with the Quran, and some aspects of it that are not so often talked about. I'd like to begin from a very basic point of view, that the Quran isn't just a religious text for the Muslim. The Quran is actually a document that illustrates the worldview of the Muslim. Now, what's it mean to have a worldview? It basically means the way you look at life, the way you look at everything outside, the way you look at yourself, the way you look at your own goals, your career, your family, right? The way you observe things outside and pass judgments on them. All of that has been reconfigured by this book. And the Muslim is supposed to have a relationship with this book that isn't just intellectual, isn't just spiritual, it's also kind of psychological. The believer starts thinking through the Quran. I share this with my students all the time, that the Quran has its own logic. It has its own way of presenting ideas. It doesn't just give you a conclusion. It introduces a conclusion by means of certain things Allah calls attention to, and then He gives you a conclusion. For example, we were listening in Salah. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, He takes an oath, إِنَّهُ لَقُرْآنٌ كَرِيمٌ, right? فِي كِتَابٍ مَكْنُونٍ. But He doesn't just say that. He says, فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِمَوَاقِعِ النُّجُومِ وَإِنَّهُ لَقَسَمٌ لَوْ تَعْلَمُونَ عَظِيمٌ. He starts by talking about stars. The subject is the Quran, but He doesn't start by talking about the Quran. What does He talk about first? The stars. And this is actually a kind of logic in the Quran. It's a way of thinking. And Muslims, unfortunately, nowadays, we look at the Quran as a source of references, meaning, is this in halal or haram? Or what is the evidence for this fatwa? Where can I find the ayah for that? But we don't go to the Quran as the source of thought itself. How does the Quran want us to think? How does the Quran want us to actually process things when we come into contact with it? As I was driving here, it was a very silent ride. Because a couple of the guys were asleep, it was late, but that's okay. It was good, it gave me a chance to think. So we're driving here, and it's highway, and there's open fields, probably something beautiful in California. We don't see that in New York or in Maryland or anywhere else, right? Open field, and then mountains in the far distance, right? And I'm looking at this, and I say, SubhanAllah, Allah does not let us escape the thought of the Quran if we immerse ourselves into the Quran, and the Quran enters into our bloodstream, literally. And you're driving, and you see those mountains, and you say, وَإِذَا الْجِبَالُ سُيِّرَتْ. And the mountains are just going to sail away. And as fixtures as they are, I was just talking to some of you guys, and you're saying, I'm baffled by the mountains when I come here to California. It's just so beautiful, right? And we don't even realize it's there. We kind of just, because it's part of life. But you never think of them as sailing away. So now the next time when someone's memorized even a little bit of Quran, when they see the mountain, what are they trying to visualize? Them sailing away. SubhanAllah, like clouds sail away. You look up into the sky, you see clouds. وَالسَّحَابِ الْمُسَخَّرِ بَيْنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَعْقِلُونَ. There are remarkable, miraculous signs in the clouds that are stuck between the heavens and the earth. You look at the sun, and it's about to set, and you say, فَلَا أُقْسِمُ بِالشَّفَقِ وَاللَّيْلِ وَمَا وَسَقَ. Allah takes an oath by the redness of the sky that Mother Time's coming. Right? The sun is not turning from yellow to red, and the sky is turning red. And the night is about to settle in. Allah calls our attention to it. And what is it a reminder of according to the Quran? What logic, what thought comes to mind when you think of that? The thought that comes to mind is لَتَرْكَبُنَّ طَبْقًا عَنْ طَبْقٍ. You're going to ride one stage after the next. You can't help it. You are on this journey, and just like when you see the sky turning red, night is inevitable. Just like that, your journey towards Allah, every step is inevitable. You can't take a step back. No matter how hard you try, you can only take a step forward. You get stuck in traffic, all these people driving on this journey now. SubhanAllah, ya ayyuhal insan, innaka kadihun ila rabbika kadhan mulaqih. You human being, you forgetful human being. Insan really doesn't just mean human being, it comes from nasiya, the one who forgets, right? Allah calls the one who forgets, and He tells him, you are marching forward towards your Lord. You make all these efforts in this direction and that direction. You're working towards your studies, towards your job, towards your family, towards savings, whatever you're working towards. The reality is, you think you're working towards those things, the only thing you're really making progress towards is meeting your Lord. Then you're going to get to meet Him, subhanAllah. Or on this journey. So even looking at a road reminds you of that. I looked to the right, I saw some cows. Literally some pasture. And you know what I noticed about the cows? Cars are moving at fast speeds, but they don't even look up to see. If there are other wild animals, at the very least, what do? They look, it calls their attention, but the cattle, they're chilling, they're on their own, world of their own, eating away at the grass. They don't care what's going on around them. And this is exactly the kind of heedlessness Allah compares the heedless person to. Allah says, أُولَٰئِكَ كَالْأَنْعَامِ بَلْ هُمْ أَضَلُّ. They are like cattle, they're even worse off. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْغَافِلُونَ. Those are the heedless. They lose sight of the world around them. They're just lost in their own entertainment. They're lost in their own world. Right? SubhanAllah. Okay, last one. So we're driving, and I see this big billboard for a real estate agency, and they've got a beautiful picture of a home, right? And there's a family happy outside, and they're hugging each other or something. You see those kinds of billboards, right? Because that's the American dream, right? That's the thing. And then of course, when you're on the highway, you see a nice car pass by and catches your eye. Whoa, yeah, that's nice. They did nice. They did a nice alternation to the backlights and whatever, or they changed the shape a little better now, right? So you see the house, and Allah says, the homes you love, you're so pleased with them. They're just in the neighborhood you wanted. They're just the exterior you wanted. They're just the interior design. The carpet matches the curtains, whatever it was. It's just the way you like it. He said, أَحَبَّ إِلَيْكُمْ مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ وَجِهَادٍ فِي سَبِيلِهِ. This home you beautify is more beloved to you than Allah, His Messenger, is struggling in their path. It puts things in perspective. You can't even look at a home anymore and smile. Allah puts things in perspective. You look at that family, the guy comes home to his family and he's happy, right? Allah says, إِنَّهُ كَانَ فِي أَهْلِهِ مَسْرُورًا. Right? He used to be happy with his family. He used to come back to his family very happy. وَيَنْقَلِبُ إِلَىٰ أَهْلِهِ مَسْرُورًا. For the believer on the day of judgment, he will go to his family happy on the resurrection day. That's when he's going to find happiness. In other words, what I'm trying to say is you can't go outside and not experience the ayat of Qur'an. That's the nature of Qur'an. It's not something caged in a book. When you become a student of the Qur'an, it starts taking over everything. You look outside the book, you see Qur'an. You look inside the book, you see Qur'an. You can't escape it. And this is really, it's part of a very critical part of the worldview of the life of a Muslim. It shapes the way the Muslim thinks. Everything reminds him of Allah. And one more came to mind, I should share it with you. So we're driving, and there's this nursing home ad. An old lady smiling, and the nurse next to her. Whoever we give old age, we start reversing them in creation. Allah does not let us escape the thought process from this book. Now here what I want to share with you are some basics that, from perhaps a little bit of a different point of view, but something inshallah that will help you, give you traction and momentum in your relationship with the Quran. Many of you are familiar with the concept of fitrah, right? Nature. Predisposed nature that Allah created us on, human beings. Fitrat Allah, and then fitrat al-naf'ali, right? This is the predisposed nature of Allah, the design of Allah, literally carving. Fitra means to carve. Allah carved us a certain way. And this is something predisposed from Allah. Allah speaks about in Surah Al-A'la, He says, الَّذِي قَدَّرَ فَهَدَى. The one who created in precise measure and then guided it. What does that mean? That means Allah created, for example, the soil in precise measure. He created the seed in precise measure. He created the water in precise measure, and the seed knows how to grow and where to come out. And the earth knows to leave way and crack open, so it makes way for the plant to come out. The baby knows that it has to cry for its lungs to fill with air. And the mother knows, her body knows that her chest should fill up with milk, because the baby's going to drink. And the baby doesn't have to take a course on how to drink milk. It knows already. Allah created it, and He guided it. The child knows. The bee knows where to go, which flower to go, and what to suck from it, and how to build its nest. How to build, how to create honey. And the human being knows how to draw it from there. SubhanAllah, Allah guided. Allah guided the human being. Allah guided the bird where to find its nest, and how to bring it back and take these twigs and make a nest. Even if it's somebody's, nowadays birds build their nest inside like the vents of your air conditioning or whatever, and it seems like it's unnatural. That's nature. Our homes are unnatural. But that's nature. That's Allah's design, SubhanAllah. And it's supposedly it's interfering with our design. We live in funny times, right? And this is really man versus nature is part of this discussion. I used to go to college in New York City, and I used to work there too. So you go in the subway, of course, you're just surrounded by concrete and metal and technology, right? And everybody's a bunch of zombies sitting in the train, and you get off after 45 minutes, and we're all walking to our work. Nobody looks up at the sky, nobody sees a single bird, right? And even if they do, they're covered in dirt because there's polluted pigeons, poor creatures, right? And then every few steps, there's like a tree. Like they put a decorative tree. But you know what happens? Sometimes the grass, starts coming out of the pavement. like we started with, and it looks unnatural. But you know what's the funny thing? What the funny thing is? That's the only thing natural. Everything else is unnatural. But that's how the world has become to us, right? We look at undeveloped land. We call it undeveloped land, right? But it's really what is that? That's land in its pure beauty. We're the ones who violated the rights of this earth, subhanAllah, right? So now the idea of fitra, the human beings were predisposed with a certain innate nature. Like all creatures have a nature. The cow knows not to go after things that it's not supposed to eat. It eats grass, it knows. Allah put it in its nature.